The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker is such a unique Zelda game. It was the introduction to the toon art style, and while many originally hated how it looked, it certainly aged super well. Many adored this game and have fond memories of it, but one negative that most people seem to agree on is that the temples in this game aren't the greatest. Now, they're nowhere near as bad as inside Jabu Jabu's belly, but they're not as great as Stone Tower Temple either. In today's Temple by Temple review, we're going to start looking at the temples from the Wind Waker, starting with Roost Cavern.
But Jickbean, the actual first temple you explore is the Forsaken Fortress, so you should be covering that first.
Shut up, dingus! Well, yes, the technical first dungeon in the game is the Forsaken Fortress, so you have to go back there later on in the story anyway, so I want to wait till we've reached that point in the story first before covering it. If you've never seen a Temple by Temple video here on the Jickbean channel, why the heck not? Here's a playlist of the Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time Temple by Temple videos that you should check out. But anyways, if you've never seen a Temple by Temple video before, then let me go ahead and explain how things work around here. I'll talk about the entire lead up to the temple alongside anything inside I find important to talk about. After the temple has been reviewed, I'll give it a standard tier list letter grade. Sometimes I'll also talk about things that happen after the temple if I feel like I need to. Also, I've only played through the Wind Waker once, and it's by far the Zelda game that I'm least knowledgeable about, so if I mess something up, please don't be a meanie head to me. I'm sensitive. But without any further ado, let's get right into the review and ranking of Roost Cavern. We kinda have to start in a weird place for this very first dungeon since we're going to be covering the actual first one later, but let's start out at Windfall Island. After doing the Forsaken Fortress the first time, we'll be awoken by some random red ship. This right here is the King of Red Lions, and he wants to help us out. He tells us a bit about Ganon and hypes Link up for the adventure to save his sister. Unfortunately, we can't really go anywhere right now because the King of Red Lions is without a sail. Luckily for us though, Windfall Island just so happens to be a place with a bunch of traders who might have exactly what we're looking for. Windfall Island has slowly started to become one of my favorite little towns in Zelda. I really think the theme of the island also helps me love it so much. It gives off little town vibes and fits the cartoony art style of the Wind Waker. There's so many interesting characters on this island and fun activities to partake in. In the back corner of the island is a little shop that doesn't look like it's doing well. This fella right here is Zurani, and he really wants to open up his own shop, but unfortunately he's a bit too poor. He pleads with Link to give him 80 rupees to open up shop, and since I'm just the nicest person ever, I decided to give him the money. In exchange for those rupees, he gives us the boat sail, which allows us to sail on the beautiful seas. While we can now head over to Roost Island, there's still a couple of things we can get done here. If we go to the Windfall Village Jail, because of course it has one of those, we can find our old pal Tingle sitting behind bars. As always, he believes that we're one of the fairy folk that he's been looking for, and apparently he's been mistaken for some troublemaker. Yeah, that's what they all say, pal. Well, I guess we can just let this old fart out of his cell by hitting a conveniently placed switch in the corner. Tingle's super thankful that we freed him, and he's kind enough to give us the Tingle bottle, which allows us to send messages to other players using Miiverse. It's a complete shame that this is useless though. Thanks a lot, Miyamoto. In the original GameCube version of Wind Waker, you didn't get the Tingle bottle because unfortunately Miiverse hadn't been created yet. Instead, Tingle gave you the Tingle Tuner, which was a device that allowed you to actually use Tingle with a Game Boy Advance. I'm not too knowledgeable on the feature, but it seems like a really cool and unique item. The reason we actually need to free him though is because there's actually a crawl space behind this box. Now let me tell you something, this crawl space is about as confusing as the very first time I went through Ocarina of Time's Water Temple. It's a huge labyrinth with so many dead ends and trapdoors that make you have to restart the whole area. Yes, I know it's a skill issue, but not having this place memorized kinda makes it a pain to go through. Eventually though, you'll reach a room with a chest containing the Picto Box. This thing can obviously take pictures and it's pretty fun to use. You can only take black and white photos right now, but there's actually a side quest we can do in order to take colored pictures. Through this door that has a Picto Box above it, we can find this fine chap named Lenzo who has a whole gallery of pictures he's taken. If we go back downstairs, he'll ask Link to be his assistant and he'll give you 3 different tasks. The tasks he give are decently vague, but if you think a bit, you can definitely figure out what he wants you to photograph. My only real gripe with this side quest is that you have to have a super specific angle in order for Lenzo to accept the picture. After doing all 3 tasks, which involve stalking a lot of Windfall Island citizens, Lenzo upgrades your Picto Box to the Deluxe Picto Box. This allows us to take pictures in full color this time. Thanks Lenzo, you're my bestest friend. There's still quite a few minor things we can do here, but let's head on back to our noble ship and give him his sail. One of the best parts about Wind Waker is exploring the ocean, even though there's not really a whole lot to do on the open waters. Yeah, there's a lot of random little islands and enemy camps, but they'll usually only give you a piece of heart or a map chart. They're honestly good enough rewards to go and explore everywhere though. Personally, I didn't make sure I explored every single island I saw, but there were plenty of times where I had a sudden itch to explore. Nonetheless, if we follow this arrow, we'll eventually make it to Roost Island. The Roost Island theme is one of the most well-known Zelda songs ever. It's so upbeat and heavy on the percussion with a groovy pan flute melody. Before we even do anything, we learn learn at the top of the island is a dragon known as the Spirit of the Skies named Valoo. Mr. Red Lion says that we need to go retrieve Din's pearl from the dragon and we should ask the Rito people who live here how to get to him. To cement himself as an even more amazing companion, the King of Red Lions gifts us with our patented Zelda musical item, the Windwaker. It ain't no ocarina, but I think it's fun to use. It's a lot more complicated than the ocarina, as you even get to use different time signatures, which I think is pretty neat. Blocking our way to the Rito is a bunch of big boulders that we can blow up using bomb flowers, which are just sitting here. Seriously though, why do people in Zelda just have these things lying around? They're dangerous, and what if some little kid starts messing with them and blows themselves up? Once all the boulders are blown up, we come across Quill, who we met at the beginning of the game. We catch him up to speed on how things are going, and he offers us to meet the Rito tribe's chief. Well, of course I would, Quill. Me and Joe go way back. When we pull up to their little cave, we learn from the chief that Valoo has become very violent instead of his natural calm self. Apparently, when a Rito child reaches adulthood, they have to go up to Valoo and receive a scale from the dragon. Doing this grants them their wings, so believe it or not, it's pretty important for Valoo to be calm instead of violent. While the Rito can't think of a way to solve this issue, there's also some other problems that they have, such as the chief's son Kamali possibly giving up on getting his wings. The chief says that there's something he wants to give us, but another Rito named Medley has it. This other Rito also gives us a delivery bag and says that it may be of some help as they go and try to deal with Valoo. This place has a couple of floors in it, and on the second floor we can find Medley, who's just one of the cutest characters in a Zelda game. Just look at her, she's so adorable. She gives us the father's letter that we can deliver to Kamali, and she asks us a little favor. She wants us to come to Dragon Roost Cavern after we deliver the letter. Anything for you, you cutie patootie. Also up here, there's a little mini game where we have to throw the right letters into the right place. If you haven't guessed it by now, the Rito and Windwaker are mainly messengers, and they do a dang good job at it. This minigame is honestly a pretty good way at earning rupees, so if you need a rupee farm, definitely come here. After going down this very long hallway, we'll come across Kamali's room. He's holding some little orb, and we fulfill the chief's request by giving him the letter. The letter pretty much just tells him to man up and go get his scale, but Kamali is a wuss and is way too scared to visit the violent Valoo. He does say that he'll go up and collect the scale if Link can find someone to make it past all the obstacles to Valoo. Well, now it's time to go head on over to the entrance to Dragon Roost Cavern and meet up with Medley. She really wants to be like Prince Kamali's grandmother, who was apparently a legendary attendant of Valoo. She believes that if she can become as amazing as her, she'll be able to help Kamali overcome his fears. In order to do that, though, she has to get to the small shrine near the peak of Dragon Roost, but she needs Link's help getting up there. We have to use the wind in order to get her up there, and while it can be timed with the wind as is, there's actually a way to control the wind. On the edge of Dragon Roost Island, there's a stone with some markings of a song. If we pull out the Windwaker and play what's written on the stone, we'll learn the Wind's Requiem, which allows us to control the direction of wind. When you do that, some random frog named Zepho shows up and claims to be the god of the winds. He mentions his brother Cyclos before peacing out, never to be seen until we see him again. Okay, now back to throwing Medley up to Dragon Roost Cavern. Once we throw her up there, she's in a hurry, but gives us an empty bottle before she leaves. With the empty bottle, we can grab some of the water next to this big rock, which will come in handy. When we first entered this area, there were a couple of bomb flower plants that look like they need water. If we pour the water on them, bomb flowers will sprout and we can use them to blow up this boulder, causing the area to flood. On the other side, there's some statues that have conveniently placed baskets that we can throw bombs in. After doing that, the statues fall and create a pathway leading us into Dragon Roost Cavern. Of course, with every temple review, we always start with talking about the dungeon's music. As much as I would love to say it's a unique and amazing theme to go along with the island's theme, I unfortunately can't. It just sounds like Dodongo's cavern theme if you were riding Yoshi. Looks like we're back to super boring themes for dungeons now. I know I just said it was kinda boring, but I don't hate this theme. I do think it fits the location pretty well, and it's not an awful track to listen to while exploring the place. Dragon Roost Cavern's first room has a couple of weird looking statues right in front of a mural. We can move the statues, and it turns out they're blocking a pathway to the next room. In here are a couple of bokoblins we need to take out, and let me just say, I love Windwaker's combat. While at the end of the day you do just kinda button mash for basic enemies, the sound effects make it super satisfying to perform. A cool feature that Windwaker brings to combat is that there are other weapons you can pick up either from crates or dropped by enemies. For this specific instance, the bokoblin drops some wooden sticks that can be used for some puzzles. There's a couple unlit torches in this room, and if we use the sticks to bring fire over to them, a chest appears containing a small key. Using the small key, we can enter a little hallway that takes us to the central room of the dungeon. Now this place is huge with multiple floors and all sorts of rooms. The only thing we can do right now is platform along the side of the room. Eventually we'll come across the first of many bridges and some keys to fight. On the other side of the bridge is a giant boulder that we can blow up with some nearby bomb flowers to reveal a door. In this next room we get to learn one of the gimmicks of the dungeon. There's water pots all around this room, and if you throw one of the pots into lava, it'll create a platform on the lava. I actually really love the gimmick, even if it is pretty simple. We can use this technique to go over to a chest containing the dungeon map. There's also a ladder in this room leading to a new room, however a scary red choo-choo is blocking the way. The next room has a breakable wall with a bokoblin just waiting to jump scare you. Realistically, how long do you think this guy was waiting here? Using the bokoblin sword, we can break another wall to open up a new area. There's another breakable wall, but it doesn't look like we can get to it. Luckily though, Link can just chuck the weapons he picks up, allowing us to break the wall, revealing a chest containing a small key. Through another door, we come back to the central room with a boulder blocking our way. Instead of just picking up the bomb flower this time, we have to hit the bomb flowers on the wall with either a pot or some rocks, making them blow up. We can now head through this locked door that was at the beginning of the room. Through the door is a room with a whole lot of red choo-choos and more breakable walls, with one of them already being cracked. Behind the cracked wall are some pots, and in one of them is yet another bokoblin waiting to jump scare you. I really can't with these guys, but I respect how dedicated they are to jumping Link. There's also a stick in here which we can light on fire to burn the other wooden wall, revealing a switch which opens up access to the next area. We actually get sent outside, which I've always thought was pretty cool, and there's another beautiful bridge to cross. There's a ladder on the other side for us to climb and avoid some lava spewing out of the mountain along the way. At the top of the ladder, there's a cargo rock and a platform we can sidle across while dodging more lava from the mountain. There's also a giant boulder, which of course means that there's some bomb flowers nearby that we can use to blow it up. Through the next door is a bunch of movable blocks that we can pull to create a staircase to the next area. In here are some pesky little rats in an elevated area. There's some torch alongside some pots with sticks, and when lit, we can throw it to the other side of the room, burning this wooden wall. There's also a chest right next to the torch containing the compass. Behind that burnt wooden wall, though, is a chest containing a better item, being a small key. With the small key, we can unlock a door and continue climbing outside. After going up a flight of stairs, we can spot a bird's nest, and inside of it is, for some reason, a small key and another cargo rock to fight. Through the next door, we come across some pots filled with sticks that we need to use to transfer flames throughout the area. There's also some keys to fight and a chest containing a joy pendant. Once you light these two torches right next to a locked door, it unlocks and we come back to the central room, but this time super high up. There's a pretty long bridge, and on the other side is a door leading to a room with a bokoblin and a bunch of pots. There's also some unlit torches in here that when lit spawn in a chest containing a treasure chart. Now at first you may be confused as there's no way to get out of the room initially, and as it turns out there's a bunch of bokoblins hiding in these pots. I seriously can't take it anymore with all these bokoblins hiding in places. After all the bokoblins are taken out, a door unlocks, taking you to what I used to think was the hardest room in the dungeon. In here there's a bunch of lava and a platform with a magtail on it. This is another room where we have to use the water pots to create platforms across lava. For some stupid reason, I felt the need to try and defeat the magtail before doing anything, which ended up being super annoying. Luckily though, you don't have to really interact with him at all as long as you hit him with a water pot. At the end of the lava river, there's a geyser that will shoot you all the way up to a door. The next room has a couple of big boulders that we have to blow up, with one of them sending us back outside. We end up being super close to Valoo, with one big staircase being all we need to take to get to him. Once we're right in front of him though, it turns out Medley has been captured by a couple of bokoblins. We have a fun fight with them, and after they're defeated, a moblin gets dropped into the arena. He's not difficult either, and once he's taken out, we're able to free Medley. She tells us that some creature is messing with Valoo's tail, and that's why he's been acting up. She's also nice enough to give us the dungeon item, being the grappling hook. We get a little tutorial on how to use the thing, and as we follow the pathway with these things to grapple across, we'll eventually come across a door. In here, there's a bokoblin to piece up, which spawns in a chest below us. We then have to use this awesome feature of cutting the bridge's ropes in order to reach the chest containing a joy pendant. There's also a door down here which takes us back into the central room. In this area, there's a platform that's being held up by some ropes that we can cut. The platform then takes us all the way to the bottom of the central room, where we now have access to a brand new area. There's some finicky platforms in here that we need to jump across to reach a ladder. At the top, there's a locked door that we can unlock using our grappling hook. Through the door is more things to grapple onto and yet more finicky platforms to jump across, eventually reaching a door. In here we get to fight a magtail, but turns out they don't actually get killed. Instead, they curl up into a little ball which we can use on this switch that allows us to open up a chest containing the boss key. Oh, sorry, it's the big key. My sincerest apologies to all big key fans. Now we have to painstakingly head all the way back to this room, which I'm sure you definitely remember. We can then use our grappling hook to cross to the other side of the room, where there's a couple of chests containing some goodies and the door leading to the boss room. In this very circular room, there's a giant lava pool in the middle, and out pops the boss of Roost Cavern, Gohma. Yes, just like in Ocarina of Time, the first real boss fight we fight in Windwaker is Gohma, but she's much better this time around. Something that I absolutely love that Windwaker does, but not the previous 3D Zelda games, is that each main boss has its own unique theme. This one in particular is pretty tense, which is how I felt during the fight. Yes, I know that this fight is pretty easy when you know what you're doing, but I'm a complete buffoon and nearly died in this fight. For the first little bit of the boss fight, you need to use the grappling hook on Valoo's tail in order for a platform to crash onto Gohma. After doing that for a decent bit, you'll then need to stun Gohma and wail on her. Also, please pray for my frames. Oh, that's really it. Huh. Can you believe I struggled on this for some reason? Man, do I suck at video games. I'll stick to my visual novel murder mystery games, thank you very much. After Gohma is defeated, we can collect the dungeon's patented heart container and be teleported back outside. Valoo isn't aggravated anymore, so the nearby area around him becomes a whole lot calmer. We're then immediately greeted by Prince Kamali and Medli. Kamali thanks us for our service, and he's nice enough to give us Din's Pearl before he goes to visit Valoo. And that's a wrap on Dragon Roost Cavern. I gotta say, this wasn't the greatest introduction to Windwaker dungeons. I'm not the biggest fan of them in the game, but trust me, this one is far from the worst. It's got a couple of decent puzzles, but it just feels like I'm doing the same thing over and over again. The grappling hook sounds like it would be a fun item to use, but in reality, it just makes me miss the hookshot. I do like the music used throughout the dungeon a decent bit though. I'm gonna give Dragon Roost Cavern a grade of C. For having a couple of fun puzzles, some decent combat, and all the repetitiveness you could want, C just feels like the grade best fit for Dragon Roost Cavern. Well, there you go, there's Dragon Roost Cavern reviewed and ranked. I know I was talking about doing this series every other week alongside exploring any other kind of videos that I feel like doing, but honestly, things are probably going to be getting messy. I'm thinking about taking a look at the next temple from Wind Waker next week before taking a look at Resident Evil Requiem, but I'm not sure yet. There's also so many other videos I want to make from so many different games, so please just bear with me. I promise at some point I will cover every single temple in each 3D Zelda game, but it's definitely going to get messy in between. Also, let me know down in the comments below some games that you'd like to see me cover. I'm mainly thinking Nintendo games, but I'll definitely take a look at any other games you guys would like. And thank you guys so much just for the support recently. It's amazing. 600 subscribers, crazy work. Let's shoot for 1,000. But seriously, thank you so much for all the support. It means the world to me. You guys have no idea. Alright, that's gonna do it for me. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll be seeing ya.